Thank you for staying with us. This is AM Prime if you're now joining us, and it's also World Poetry Day. And to talk about World Poetry Day and all the amazing initiatives that they have going on, we have our friends at NALIS. Joining me live in studio is Ms Kirlan Austin, Librarian III, Secondary School Library Unit at the Educational Library Services Division of NALIS, and Ms Brigid Winter, Librarian III, Public Libraries Division at NALIS. Thank you, ladies, for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
No problem at all. So let's talk about World Poetry Day. But before we get to that, let's talk about the library. Now, the library is a very key place, but we know that there are persons who may be using other devices and, they're using the nets, and they may say, well, we don't need the library. Talk to us about the importance of that building, of that space, and being able to commune there.
So I'm sure we have heard over the years that the library is no longer a relevant space.
Right.
But until now, we can still see that the library is here and the library is thriving.
Yes.
For me, I don't think the physical library will ever disappear. What the library is doing now is moving to meet the changing needs of society.
Yes.
So while we will never be irrelevant, we also have to be agile in terms of changing our operations to meet the needs of our public. So the country's and the world's thrust is digital transformation.
Right.
The library is also going through digital transformation. So in the past, you would have had to fill out a physical form to join the library.
Right.
You can do that online. If you visit any one of our public libraries, we have digital literacy initiatives for our seniors and other user groups, because we don't want anybody to be left behind,
yes.
right? We also have online books. We also want to think of our visually impaired population. So we have audiobooks as well, not just for the visually impaired,
right.
but we're also thinking of them. So we are being agile, we are pivoting. We have to meet our society where they are. And one of the things we see is that we are putting the library in the community, because without the community, what is the use of the library? And if you pop into any one of our libraries on a daily basis, you will see that people understand that there is still a need for the library based on all the programming that is taking place and the persons that are there involved in the programming.
Nice. I love the inclusion. So visually impaired persons, seniors, I know that there are also alter classes in the past for adults to be able to learn to read. I love the inclusion. Tell us about how the library has been able to pivot and what are the things you've been able to incorporate, given that we came out of a pandemic. So going out to the library would have been impossible. How were you able to use that to, incorporate in your services and so on online?
Well, in terms of the school libraries,
yes.
What happened is that we had to do a lot of things digitally and online.
Right.
So all of the librarians, while they were at home during the pandemic, were kind of creating resources and fielding those resources and actually reviewing them for the students. So the students were able, and we put them together in a kind of a resource pack for them to be able to locate it digitally. And as she said, there's a lot of the ebooks and all the databases that are online in NALIS. One of the things is that we, at all the libraries and the librarians, want people to come back into the library spaces now that we are open, but it also means that even though we have the library, we tend to actually, all the librarians, in terms of making sure that in this day of digital literacy, we are able to teach the children how to use the devices properly, because even though they are using the devices and looking for information, some of them don't know how to use the information properly and how to find the necessary resources they need. So one of the things we are doing while we're evolving and changing, we are teaching them the literacy skills that they need in terms of how to actually go and know when they are finding accurate information, correct information, and so on. And that's important. So libraries will always be, as she said, evolving as the world is evolving.
Yes, that's important, because with the last interview, we were speaking with Children's Authority, and we were talking about the fact that some children did not have access to devices. So now we have the library having those devices, and they're able to still be included and learn. So that's really good. Tell us about the importance of World Poetry Day for NALIS.
Well, in terms of the Educational School Libraries
Yes.
Division, this year we focus on 2 ventures, which we usually do every year. The first one is the Harder Poetry Competition,
Okay.
and the other one is all the SLMC activities. Harder Education, the Ministry of Education, and NALIS, especially the Educational School Libraries Division, work in tandem in collaboration for this World Poetry Day. Actually, it's culminating today.
Yes.
The finals is in NALIS at the AV room.
Okay.
And I could imagine all the students
The
coming in
excitement,
now
yes.
and the excitement and so on to put on their performances and so on. It starts at 9 and it finishes at 12. At the SLMCs, however, which is all over Trinidad and Tobago, the librarians will be spearheading whatever they're doing for World Poetry Day in the school. So at assemblies, they will be talking about it. They will be reading poetry. They will be doing displays. They will be even doing performances and mini competitions and all the fun activities with the children. So they can't miss out on World Poetry Day.
And at the public libraries?
Okay, so we have approximately 25 public libraries across Trinidad and Tobago, and that includes our correctional institutions and our community libraries. And we have various things going on in different libraries, but some of the things you can look forward to, of course, we have informational and book displays, both in-house and on our various Facebook pages. We have poetry writing workshops. We have poetry readings.
Okay.
One of our book clubs will be reading poetry, listening to Paul Keens Douglas, one of our poet laureates, and they will be having discussions around that. One of our other libraries is having a poetry wall. This is the Port of Spain Children's Library.
Nice.
So if our children and the parents are listening, we invite you to encourage your children to take in their original poetry so it can be featured on the poetry wall.
That's very exciting.
Yes. We have one-line poetry. You go into the library and, well, the first person will have the first line, and each successive person will add to that poem.
Nice.
So that'll be
So
really...
they're building on the poem.
Yes.
Nice.
And there is one library that's also doing poems in your pocket.
Okay.
So when you go into that space, you'll be able to get a poem. You won't know what the poem is, but who knows, you may be surprised. So I encourage all the folks who are listening or watching to go into their nearest public library and find out what's going on. Maybe you have a poem that you want to share with the rest of Trinidad and Tobago, or you can just fall into the activities that are happening in the various libraries across Trinidad and Tobago.
How can persons get in touch with the library on social media? Because I know with the pandemic and all of that and, you know, going digital, you've been very active on social media. So where can they find you on social media?
We are, each library, each public library, I'll start there, has a Facebook page.
Okay, good.
So just type in the name of your area, like Moruga Public Library, or Port of Spain Children's Library, or St. Helena Public Library. And there's also a NALIS corporate Facebook page. ELSD, the Educational Libraries Services Division, also has a Facebook page. The Heritage Library also has a Facebook page. So we are everywhere on Facebook, and we do have a YouTube channel as well.
Okay.
But the Facebook has the most current things. So you can find us there.
I just realized, you know, with you calling out the types of libraries we have, there are persons who may not realize we have all of this at the library. So tell us a bit about the types of libraries that exist.
Well, there's the public libraries, and as you said, there's a lot of
public libraries.
yes, so you could go to your closest public libraries. There's the community libraries, which is the collocated ones that are opening now all over. And then there's the school libraries. There's 124 of them. There's a little bit more. So in all the secondary schools, there's the special libraries, which is in the offices and the businesses and so on in the ministries. So, and then there's our heritage library, and we can't miss that one in terms of, you know, our culture and promoting all things that are local. So, you know, it's close to you, so you can drop in into any library. Even the school libraries, they cater sometimes for the community, so people can, you know, go and in terms of when they're having activities and enjoy as well as their closest public library.
Nice. And before we wrap, what would be the message to the public on this World Poetry Day?
Poetry is an expression, an artistic expression, and sometimes people think it's outdated, but it is something that, you know, even today is relevant in terms of our heritage and our culture. And we just think about, and I was telling my colleague, that even our calypsonians and their writings as well could be considered poetry, right? And it helps us in terms of our emotion and sharing with one another our history and our culture and our self-expression.
Definitely. And Ms. Winter?
Quintel said it better, so I just want to add to that. There's a poem in every one of us.
Yes.
So we just need to let it out.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much. We were speaking with NALIS, and that was Ms. Kirlan Austin, Librarian III, Secondary School Library with the Educational Library Services Division at NALIS, and Ms. Brigid Winter, Librarian III, Public Libraries Division at NALIS. Thank you, ladies. Enjoy your World Poetry Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And be sure to check out the library. There's so many amazing things happening. It's still a beautiful thing to go into the library and to feel a book, to talk to the librarians, to see the joy that you get from reading the pages of these books. Not just poems, but stories like yours that need to be let out. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we have lots more in store. Stay with us.